What is going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video, and today we're going to be doing another video on another new legend that I haven't actually played around with in a little while, and that's going to be Kozuki ODEN. Definitely a really cool character, but definitely there are some things about him that don't make him as desirable to use compared to other characters, and when I say that, I mean as a captain. As a sub, obviously a phenomenal unit that can get access to some certain mechanics that some other characters just can't get, right? So before we get into the actual video today, going through content, I want to actually talk about the unit like what I've done over the last couple of days with the last couple of videos you guys may have seen on the channel. So here we have Kozuki ODEN, a super SugoFest exclusive character, and the ink artwork looks immaculate, probably one of the best ink effect artworks if I do say so myself. But ODEN is a strength slasher free spirit with a captain effect that boosts the attack of all characters by 4.25, health by 1.5, and then strength characters will get a 4.75 times boost if they have a Wano slot, and makes tandem slots into Wano slots, which is great. So there's lots of really cool things there. Obviously Wano slots are probably the most broken slot in the game in terms of damage potential, because obviously, as it says there, you get 2.5 times attack instead of a 2 times attack that a regular matching slot gives you. So you get an inherent massive damage boost that just other characters don't get access to because you have Wano slots. So such an amazing captain effect. He has great health, good damage potential, not really too much to say that's bad about it. I guess you could kind of nitpick in some certain aspects. He doesn't make the chances of those Wano slots appear more often, which is kind of a detraction to the character. But either way, let's talk about his special, which with Limit Break expansion maxes at 13, makes the crew's strength slots into Wano slots, which is dope. And then also, we'll go ahead and state that for 2 turns, he's going to do that. And then he also changes the crew's own matching slots into strength slots. So if you activate the special and you have a matching slot, now not a beneficial slot, it has to be like, a Dex Orb on a Dex character or a Psi Orb on a Psi character. If it's matching to the character's type, it gets changed into a strength slot, which with his special will make that into a Wano slot, which is ridiculously powerful because he does that and then also boosts the slot effects of Slasher, Free Spirit, and Strength characters by 2.5 for 2 turns. So already an amazing special ability right here, because you can use this as a sub to get access to Wano slots. Now unfortunately he does not do damage with his special, which would have made him even more broken, because you could have had someone like version 1 Akainu to generate a full board of strength slots, which would have given you those Wano slots, and I think they probably had that in mind when designing this unit, because if you had access to this unit that had damage as well as all of this, they could have done some pretty crazy shenanigans. But, even without doing damage with his special, this unit is a phenomenal unit, and we're going to be going ahead and showcasing him in this video today. So getting into this content, of course, we have the 10-star difficulty GARP challenges with my man Kozuki ODEN as the captain, of course. All 3 of these clips you're seeing in this video today are going to be having Kozuki ODEN as both captains. No hybrid shenanigans going on here. Kozuki ODEN? I guess Koden kind of works. He's a really cool character, man. And I really hope that we get another ODEN in the future, like a V2 ODEN, because I feel like the way that they released this character alongside Roger, he kind of was in Roger's shadow, because Roger is just such an amazing unit that they kind of didn't give ODEN the respect he deserved. Like, I'm not saying he's a bad unit in any way, but when you compare him to Roger, well, yes, he does get access to Wano slots, unlike Roger, but I feel like, it's hard not to compare them. The 2 units, the first 2 Super SugoFest exclusives in the game, it's hard not to compare them. I understand people say, they're 2 different units, you can't compare them, but it is really annoying that they released both of them together and they kind of just gave everything to Roger, whereas, it's really cool. ODEN has some really cool things, but all I'm saying is I really hope that ODEN gets a V2 in the future where he potentially releases by himself or as a versus unit would be pretty awesome. I'd be down for that, man. That'd be super cool if they do a versus unit with ODEN. They could potentially do a dual unit in the future. I mean, with how powerful some of the dual units are recently on Japan, I wouldn't be surprised if they did do a dual unit of ODEN. If they did, it's going to be a really good unit, man. But anyways, I digress. Let's talk about how this team's been in the content. Vivi Rebecca, obviously a phenomenal unit for this particular team for getting around the defensive effects of Jozu. We have Colosseum and Enel to get around the attack down, the paralysis, and also the chain debuffs that will be inflicted to our team. We also have Luffy Zoro. Luffy Zoro are actually a really good unit, man. They're actually really good for Kozuki ODEN in particular. It's kind of interesting because Kozuki ODEN is basically a buffed version of Luffy and Zoro, but there are obviously aspects of both that are good. I do like the fact that Luffy and Zoro have a really good switch effect. They give you great utility, plus they give you a chain lock with their special activation. Plus the really good thing with Odin, of course, is because you know, all tandem slots become Wano, which means with the switch effect of Luffy and Zoro, you get Wano slots very, very easily. So you can just do lots and lots of damage, because when you switch into Luffy Taro, who is a strength unit, he gets the massive boost. So that really does make a big difference. Another thing to really talk about is the super type of Odin. His super type is definitely not an amazing addition to the unit. It would have been better if they did something else. I don't know really what they could have done, honestly, but what they did for his current super type is not as effective as some of the other super types that we've seen in the game, and it's a little unfortunate, man, because again, that's also one of the reasons why you know, we see that, while I was comparing at the start of the video, why he's like, you know, kind of in Roger's shadow, because Roger's super type is probably one of the best in the game, and you have Odin's, which is, it's just average at best, I would say. There are instances where it's ridiculously useful. It makes Odin hit really hard, but in comparison to some of the other super types, definitely lacking. But you cannot disrespect Odin with the amount of damage potential that he provides with his special, boosting 3 different types of units: Strength, Slasher, and Free Spirit. It just gives you so much damage, especially when you are able to get access to those Wano slots as well, multiplying the damage even further from the Wano slots that it already gives you. So anyways, I'll leave you guys with the rest of this clip, and we'll pick things up at the Enel Garp Challenge. So now we go ahead and take a step into the Enel Garp Challenge. Now this one, you definitely need like prepared units for this. As many people know at this point, with the Enel Garp Challenge, you have to take into account the Fear debuff on the final stage. It's Fear debuff, Special Bind, and Stun. So you need ways to get around all of those. Now, through playing Garp Challenges multiple different times, what I found to be probably one of the most effective ways around it, well, for Strength in particular, they actually don't have that really bad of a problem with dealing with the stun stuff. The Marco and Ace Kizuna unit is phenomenal because they give you a 2.75 attack boost to your Strength units, which is obviously fantastic, but then they also reduce your crew's health, which allows you to get around the stun debuff. However, you do need another special to get around the Special Bind, right? So there are 2 different units in particular that are really good for this. For Strength, you've got on this team, Rare Recruit King, who is so good, giving you the ability to get rid of Special Bind. He also does a lot of other things, but the main thing here is the Special Bind. He has the Fear debuff, so he can resist that, but you can also use Stampede Buggy. Now, I had used Stampede Buggy a lot of different times in me clearing the Strength NL challenge, so I wanted to use the other unit that actually helped out a lot in this situation here. Another unit on this team that you see is a bit of an odd choice is going to be Arlong Crew, and it's been a long ass time since I've used Arlong Crew, man. However, in this instance here, he's really good because on one of the stages on this fight, we get inflicted with Special Reverse, and in order to get around that, we have Arlong because he completely resists Special Reverse. His special gives us -2 cooldown for all of our units, which just gets rid of the Special Reverse completely, which is phenomenal. And it gives us a 2.5 times attack boost if we're below 30%, which is fantastic. Plus, he does damage, which means we can have V1 Akainu support attached to him, get a full board of slots, we have a 2.5 attack boost. It's pretty freaking awesome. Then, once again, we have Luffy and Zoro on this team. Great utility, switch effective once again, which helps out a lot. Plus, the fact that he can switch into a Dex unit is ridiculously useful against those quick enemies that are a little bit pesky for strength teams to get around. So having a unit that can switch into a Dex unit is very valuable in these Garp challenges in the strength team. That's why, you know, Vivi Rebecca in the previous instance against the Whitebeard challenge was also really useful for that. We do have the special of Luffy and Zoro as well, which gives us a huge damage boost, and it's just great, man. I love using Luffy Zoro under Odin. It actually works super well, but unfortunately the super type special of Odin is really difficult to activate with him because the units you have to use with him are pretty limited, and they don't have like many good versions of those units, you know, namely, you know, the samurai from Wano Kuni, like Kinemon, Raizo, etc., like those types of characters. Like, you know, Okiku's okay, there's a couple of good Okiku characters. Whitebeard doesn't have like too many amazing units that work really well with Odin, particularly like strength ones. In the next clip that you guys will see in this video, the Navy challenge, we do actually go ahead and do use a use the World Clash Whitebeard, the strength Whitebeard that came out with Odin. He's a great unit to use because he gives us an attack boost when Odin is an orb booster, so they work really well together if you do use them in the same turn. And that Whitebeard actually does damage, by the way, which is great, but we'll talk about him once we get to the next challenge. So yeah, unfortunately, like, he doesn't really have a lot of units to really use in order to proc that super type, and as I've already established, I do think the super type special of ODEN is a little lackluster, so there's just a lot of things that aren't really going his way. But obviously, if you do build the team around ODEN and ensure you get Wonder slots, ensure you get that orb boost, and predominantly have strength characters, your damage is going to be fine, which is great, right? Plus, he has this really, really big HP pool, which helps out a lot with tanking damage and stuff like that. So there's lots of good things to like about ODEN. But I'll leave you guys with the rest of this clip against Enel, because as we've already established, getting rid of the stun, getting rid of the special bind, it's pretty easy from there. So I'll leave you guys with the rest of this clip, and we'll pick things up once we get to the Navy Garb Challenge. And now we go ahead and move on to the final challenge of the video versus Navy, the brand new 10-star difficulty Garb challenge to arrive on One Piece Treasure Cruise Global. So with this team in particular, there are a couple things you have to take into account, namely the biggest thing at the start on stage 3 with Kobe and Helmeppo. There's Threshold, of course. Zorodraw is fantastic because of his double special activation, helping us get around the mini-boss stage on stage 2, Threshold removal for stage 3, Threshold removal for stage 7 against the Akano and the Revives. He's great, right? But there's also the Hunger debuff, and there are a couple ways around it. You could try and generate recovery slots for your team, which is fine, but Kid is a phenomenal choice too. The brand new treasure map Kid that came out not too long ago on Global, who, if you limit break expand this free-to-play unit, he has Hunger, which is great. So you can just remove the Hunger with this free-to-play unit. Plus, when we move into the stage after this, which is going to be with Hina, Smoker, and Toadskii, we get given Despair, we get given Bind as well, which means that when we launch the special of Kid, because we have those two particular debuffs in our team, we actually get given a 1.75 orb boost. I think it is a 1.75 orb boost and a 1.75 attack boost. It might be a 2x attack boost, actually. I can't remember off the top of my head, but all I know is that depending on the debuffs you get inflicted, particularly with Bind and Despair and Paralysis is the other one, you get given boosts from Kid's special. Plus, he changes badly matching slots into matching, and you can have the Luffy Tara support, like what I do in this instance, to remove Bind and Despair. It doesn't get rid of all the Bind, unfortunately, because we get given 6 turns of Bind, but still, the amount of utility you get from that support alone is really, really nice to have. And as I've already mentioned, we do have the World Clash Whitebeard on the team, which enables us to use the super type of ODEN, which we do right here, because I wanted to ensure that when we actually attack Smoker, we actually have a pretty good amount of damage on the team, because obviously if we don't have the super type, we have to hit with not very effective damage. And I wanted to make sure I killed Smoker on this turn, because I believe after turn 2, or it might be turn 3, I can't remember which turn it is, but he activates like % damage reduction, and you know, with attacking with type disadvantage with damage reduction on top of it, it's going to be a little bit of a pain to get through from that point on. Now, Kizaru was always going to be a big pain for me, and I wasn't really too sure how I was going to deal with it, and this was just me testing it out. I was like, okay, let's see what happens if I launch a super type special and just attack. And surprisingly enough, you know, with all of this damage, that's enough, which is pretty awesome, man. It just goes to show that with type advantage, Wano slots, ODEN is a beast. And I mean, don't disregard the fact that when you launch the super type special, yeah, you get the 1000 base attack boost to ODEN himself, which is obviously great. In that instance there, it's nice because you have the type advantage, but in a lot of other cases where you won't have type advantage, it's a little lackluster, as I've already said before. But at this point here, this is one thing about the Navy Garb challenge that is kind of forgiving, which is the fact that on stage 6, the second last stage, you have those Navy characters in the back. So once you kill Fujitori, I think you get given like 7, 8, or 9 turns of stall for free on these Navy characters. So if you need to stall for a certain special back, you can do that here, which is great. So by enabling us to stall all of that extra turns there, we'll get you know, our specials ready to go once we need them, and then we're good to go. Now, obviously, it's probably not optimal in terms of time to do this with the stall, but you don't have to go about and clear it as fast as possible. As long as you're clearing the content, that's obviously the most important thing. But I'll leave you guys with the rest of this clip here. Thank you so much for watching the video today, and if you guys did enjoy it, make sure you go ahead and hit the like button. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But on that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.